What is going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's Pardon the Disruption. We have high expectations for today's show. I'm your host, Matthew Potter. For those that are tuning in, I am your short sale expert. I am your hedge fund connection and co-founder at the Family Tree at Real Brokerage. Go ahead and hit me up if you're interested or need help with any of those things. Before we get started and introduce our panel today, I wanted to go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor, Tony Javier with 10X TV. Thank you so much. If you're looking for affordable TV sponsorship, go ahead and check them out, 10xtv.com. All right, for those that are joining us for the first time, this is the way that the show goes. We have 5 pre-selected questions that our panelists will know about ahead of time. Each one gets 45 seconds to respond, and then we have 2 minutes to chop it up. Once that's done, points will be awarded for the best answers that have been given. And then at the very end, we have a 6th question that comes from our audience. That can come from YouTube. Check out Pardon the Disruption's YouTube channel. It can come from text message of 33777. Text question to it. Without further ado, we're going to get into it and introduce our panel. We're going to start off with Steve Trang.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I am also excited about the super high expectations we got for today. It's going to be a really interesting show. We do have a big announcement coming out May 17th. If you're not aware of it, go to stevetrangtelegram.com. Be in the channel. We will keep you, get you guys up to date when we do make our huge announcement, but excited for today's show.
Awesome. Next up, always on time, CJ Chris Jefferson. What's going on, boss?
Hey, listen, man. First and foremost, it's a pleasure to be here. All right, Chris Jefferson, Richmond, VA. Is my camera? All right, there we go. Chris Jefferson, Richmond, VA. It's always a pleasure, man, to be here and spar with these gentlemen verbally. I'm excited for today. Always a pleasure, man. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. We love having you here, CJ. Next up, our man, RJ Bates III. Go ahead and introduce yourself, boss.
What's up, guys? Just want to settle something. Last week, Leon wasn't here, but he was in the chat, and he was talking some smack about the fact that somewhere I said that I wanted Kyrie Irving to be a Dallas Maverick. I went back and listened to a previous episode, and I definitely did not say that. I said Kyrie Irving sucks, and I stand by it. And also, today's episode is sponsored by Clover Valley Purified Drinking Water for all of your cottonmouth needs on 420.
Clearly, we're just going to dominate today. All right, last but certainly not least, Leon, don't forget the G. Barnes. Talk to us, boss.
What's up, everyone? Excited to be back. Leon G. Barnes with the Collective Genius. And how do you know someone is feeling guilty? Generally because they respond to something that wasn't meant for them. That's how you typically know when someone's guilty. That was actually RJ. That was for Steve and Eric. But because you live in Dallas, I get it. You thought I was talking about you. I was actually putting that reference to Steve and Eric because they said on the show at least a couple times that they would take Kyrie all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. So that was not meant for you, but I was excited to not be on the show and just participate in the chat last week. That's how much I love the show. Excited for today.
Absolutely. I love that we got the varsity team together today. It's going to be amazing. We're going to start off with our first question. This one is, what are your thoughts on loan level price adjustments that are going to be happening on May 1st? Start us off, Steve.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's going to be awesome for everybody, right? I mean, it's really about time that the middle class pays their fair share, right? Like, we're tired of the poor people having to carry the country. So right now we're going to shift it up. And because the poor have had gas and eggs and everything else become more expensive, they can't afford it, including cigarettes, it's about time we pass that cost onto the middle class. Because you know who's not paying this LLPA? Rich people who are buying houses cash. So the only people being penalized by this are the middle class. So yeah, I think it's great. Screw the middle class. I think this is the way to go.
Outstanding. I told you guys you are in for it today. All right, next up, CJ, what are your thoughts on this increase?
I mean, I hear Steve. I really do. I think this is absolutely crazy. It doesn't make too much sense to me. I mean, I think this is a what's the goal now? Like, instead of a 750, 800 credit score, you're supposed to aim for like 625 or like 640. I'm not like, I don't know what the rhyme or reason is around the angle. I don't know that it's going to be good for the market either. We're taking the strongest home buyers and making it even harder in a rising interest rate environment for them to be able to qualify and buy houses. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I should be in Washington. I'll take RJ Bates III in the titanium hat to Washington. He'll be the lobbyist. I'll write the bills, and we'll see what we can get figured out, because I don't know if this is it, man.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd vote for that ticket. Absolutely, I would vote for that ticket all day, hands
Me
down.
too.
All right, RJ, what are your thoughts on this?
If you woke up on 420 today and you didn't know if you needed to pay your credit card bill, if you needed to go buy something for 420, paraphernalia or just something, the answer is you can just ignore that credit card bill, because you're going to get a better rate by not paying it and having a lower credit score. I mean, one thing I think that stood out to me is this is the first time that the LLPA has been adjusted since 2009. I don't know what that means, other than I know what was going on in 2009. So I found that to be a little bit strange. But this is just like Steve said and CJ said, this is asinine. I can't believe that we're going to literally penalize people for being more responsible with their money.
Very valid points. Leon, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, since it is 420, reading this, you guys know how I like to be informed. And while reading this, I thought to myself on 420 that someone had to be high to write this legislation. Like I thought to myself, hold on, we're going to penalize people that have good credit. I came into the pre-show, and I had to ask Matt, I'm like, am I confused here? Because am I reading this the wrong way? Because it doesn't make sense to me. So someone writing this, there's a reason for it. Drugs may be involved, probably some other things as well. But, the question, if we're looking at, the first part of the question, is it good for a buyer pool? And if we're going to relate this back to our audience, if you are, someone that's wholesaling or retail flipping, you probably are going to benefit from the standpoint of, that buyer that is in that, first time home buyer. Matt made the point that this is currently conventional, and more than likely FHA and Fannie will follow. So with that said, if you're looking for, a buyer pool that this may be good for, it's that individual that's the first time home buyer.
If they want to fix the buyer pool, all they have to do is do what they did in 2008 or 2009 and remove the FHA anti-flip rule. However,
I didn't say it was perfect. I just said that it would benefit that particular buyer.
So I always think back, right? Like, I wish there was a way that we could just kind of look back in history. It's like, if we stop producing gasoline, price of gas might go up. Or if we print a bunch of money, it might hurt the lower class because they might not have money because everything would be more expensive. But there's unfortunately no way to look back in history to figure that stuff out. We're just going to have to figure out experimentally in real time.
The level of sarcasm coming from Steve today is on another level. I love 420 Steve. That's all I'm going to say.
Y'all are welcome.
But I do have to think that, since we're saying what are our thoughts, I do have to say, looking into the future, this has to also lead us to believe that there's going to be a wave of foreclosures in some of the lower price points, because you're essentially making it easier with people with poor credit to get houses. There's a reason why those credit scores exist. There's a reason why they're a riskier borrower. And I do think that there's an opportunity in the future for there to be a wave of foreclosures.
I don't know if I mean there could be, right? There could be. I think the biggest thing is, again, everyone in the country will have to bail out the banks again when all these defaults occur. That's what's going to happen, right? Like we have to pay for it. But I'm thinking I'm going to do one of two things. Either I am going to start a short sale company, or I'm going to invest really heavily in Mets.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, this is we keep saying when, but I just made a post about this earlier. The data is already showing that it is happening already, right? It's just the pace of it happening is starting to gradually increase more and more and more.
And they're adding gas to it.
Yeah, these things are the gasoline on the fire, right? Foreclosure filings are up 23 months in a row. At some point, this thing starts to compound, and then it's going to start to get pretty hairy pretty fast. I don't know. Again, this just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Help me understand this, because this is something that I don't understand as a second part of this. I mean, this is, I'm sure our viewers would want to know this as well. Why penalize? You can give incentives if you want to for those with lower credit score, but why are we penalizing with more fees the person that has a better credit score to incentivize them to go down on their credit score?
Because the powers that be don't want to lose any money. They don't want to lose margin. And so unfortunately, look, we can all acknowledge the fact that people with more riskier credit or people who use credit more frequently. All right. There are people that are less financially educated, unfortunately. And so powers that be do know this, right? And they know that if they can loosen credit requirements for people who are more adverse to use their credit on as many things as possible, then they're going to be able to, in their mind, I think they feel they can probably stimulate the market and the economy in doing so. But because people that are in the upper middle class or people with, really strong credit profiles and things of that nature, a lot of those people are sitting tight in moments like this. The upper end of the market isn't moving around as much right now because these people are more aware and cognizant of things like, interest rates, what type of loan product they get. And that's what we're seeing right here.
I think you got to spread the credit risk around, right? And so someone's got to pay the price. And so, I would refer you to Dave Chappelle and Pop Copy, right? If you ever watched the very first episode, Chappelle show, it's like, you might wonder, why do we treat our customers this way? F them.
Because we can.
That's why.
Because we can. That's right. RJ, I'm starting to agree with you. I like 420 Steve. He's on point today.
This is the best Steve I've ever seen.
All right. We're gonna wrap that one up. Thank you for bringing very insightful sarcasm. That being said, we are going to go ahead and award Sarcastic Steve that round. That was great. We love the Pop Copy reference. Absolutely. Keep it coming.
He gets the point for just referencing Dave Chappelle. I think that may be a first. He gets the point.
Let's be real. When was the last time Chappelle was referenced on PTD? Like, come on.
Never by Steve. I can tell you that.
Next up, is failure an inevitable part of the entrepreneurial journey, or can it be avoided with proper planning? Start us off, Sarcastic Steve.
I think it's absolutely, you could be detailed and this and that. You will screw up. You will, you will scrape, you'll bump your knees and so on. But that's part of the process. If you don't make mistakes, right? If you run a perfect business, you will never grow, right? If you talk to a person that's like, I win 100% of my appointments, it's because you're only talking to like people that are super qualified or family that likes you, and that's it. And you will never do the kind of volume you need to do. So if you're not failing, you're not growing, and you're gonna be miserable, or at least you're getting into the business for the wrong reasons.
Very nice, Steve. Very nice. All right. Next up, CJ, what are your thoughts? Inevitable, or can it be avoided?
No, I don't think failure can be avoided when you're striving towards new levels, new goals, new challenges, new opportunities. I think failure is one of the most beautiful things ever. It gets you closer to the opportunity of getting it right. Nobody hits it perfect. Nobody hits every at bat. It's weird. I think when people start, they think failure is like elusive, like it won't exist. Once they get to some, specific place in life or financially or in business, people who have had some success over time do know and see and realize that failure is present at every single part of it. We've talked a lot about it on this podcast individually at different times. Like failure is the game, and it's a game that you want to embrace. because it'll get you where you want to go.
Deep thoughts. I love it, CJ. I love it. All right, RJ, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, by nature, an entrepreneur wants freedom to be able to go out and do whatever they want. And I think because of that, we're always pushing the boundaries, right? We're always going to strive to do something more and see what we are able to achieve. And I think for the most part, we're crazy son of bitches. And I mean, we're going to go out and we're going to keep going until we do fail. And I think that's almost kind of where we hit our boundary, and then we say, all right, let's dial it back in and learn from those mistakes. And then let's try to push back and see if we can exceed where we got from the last time. And I see that over and over and over again from different entrepreneurs. And I agree with CJ. I think failure can be a beautiful thing if it's used the right way. If you don't allow it to cripple you and you allow it to learn and grow and push the boundaries the next time.
That is a PTD first. We have RJ agreeing with CJ. Fantastic. Man, this show is shaping up. All right, Leon, what are your thoughts?
420, man. Shout out to 420.
I think that if I'm not disagreeing, but just to define a little bit deeper, I think the word failure is a little strong. I think failure, to me, when I hear failure, I mean the business is shutting down. I think RJ used a better word, which is mistakes, losses. These types of things are inevitable. They're part of the maturation process of your human life as well as your business life. It comes with the territory, especially if you're pushing the boundaries. To Steve's point earlier, you're only seeing 3 people a week and you're winning on all of those appointments. You're not seeing enough people. You're not growing. You're not scaling, which is what most people that listen and watch this show, what they want to do. So you can have the best game plan in the world. Look at professional sports or 11-year-old basketball that I coach every single weekend. We can have the best game plan in the world. But those kids learn the most from the mistakes that they make on the court, and that's why you coach them up. Same thing from a business standpoint. So I would advise that when always trying to plan to not fail, but to learn, is to seek wise counsel. I don't care if it's a community like CG or coaching like a community like the U or any of the coaching that these gentlemen do. Seek wise counsel to make sure that those losses and those mistakes that you make are not big enough to create failure long term.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Leon. Like failure, we look at it maybe there's a finality in that tone, but I think mistakes are something that are inevitable. One of my favorite quotes from some grandmaster, I don't know which martial arts it was something along the lines like, "I'm not better than you because I've tried harder than you. I'm better than you because I failed more times than you have tried."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, just think about like the amount of effort you have to do to fail more than someone else has tried.
It's funny you guys bring that up because sports is a great analogy for this. My son just got a hard lesson in this with hockey. He has the opportunity to do a private once a week with a former NHL player. And he was out there with a 16-year-old kid who's going to probably make it to professional hockey. And this 16-year-old is falling left and right. And he looked at my son and he goes, "Do you see what he's doing? He's seeing how far he can go. So when he's in the game, he doesn't fall. But in practice, he has to do that." And I think as entrepreneurs, we have to do the same thing. We don't actually know if one of us can become the next Elon Musk unless we push ourselves. And I think that's what we consistently do is we push ourselves into, whoa, we went too far. All right, that was a little bit too much. Reel it back, dial it in. Let's figure out what we need to do to be better next time.
I really like this example. There's like just a personal anecdote myself. I learned how to snowboard on my own on my first day. My friend was teaching me, right? And the whole time he's like, "Steve, I've never seen anyone wipe out as many times and as hard as you have on one day." But by the end of the day, I was able to snowboard on my own, right? It was just, you have to embrace it's going to suck so you can get to where you want to be.
Good round. I'm going to go ahead and award this one to Leon. Main reason why is Leon brought us back from that brink of failure and just went ahead and, gave us that advice that we were looking for, where it was like, hey, look, it's not failure. It's just seeing how far we can push ourselves, mistakes. All right, next up, this one is certain to elicit some great conversation. In honor of 420, should we drug test our employees? Start us off, Leon.
Hail to the yeah. Let's start there. Here's why that, let me preface this with this. I do not see marijuana, trees, sticky, icky, whatever you call it, whatever your vernacular is when it comes to weed. I'm cool and I'm down with that. I have no issues with that. What I'm looking for is higher addictions in a drug test. I think it's hold people accountable, especially on different levels in which you're hiring within your organization. In real estate, we have admin, we have contractors, we have all types of different people that we're hiring for. So I think it's something that we do personality tests to make sure that we have the right people in the right seats. I think we should also hold people accountable to a drug test to start off their employment. And if you feel like they potentially could have issues, random tests are okay too.
Very well thought out answer there, Leon. We appreciate the sticky, icky drop as well. Steve, what about you? You going to start drug testing everybody?
Well, what everyone doesn't know is that they've been drug tested already in our office, right? So here's what I'll say. If I'm going to drug test my office, is only to make sure that they are doing drugs, right? Like our sales guys need to be doing this. Our creatives need to be doing this, right? So I just want to make sure that they belong if I'm drug testing. But I debated this a long time ago, and I came to the conclusion, if I drug test, I will be out of business. Right? I run a sales organization. I will be out of business. So no, we do not drug test.
Facts. CJ, what about you? You popping tests on people or no?
Nah, chill, man. We on NBA Player Association policies over here, man. It's opened up, man. It's all good. All right, listen. At the U, baby, we not mad at you, man. Now, if you on that hard stuff, all right. If you graduated, if you went varsity college with the drugs, man, professional. But now we gotta, we can't let that go. We can't let you do all of that. But nah, man, we on NBA Player Association, man. Whatever they say, that's what we say over here.
NFL standards.
Outstanding. We absolutely love that you're not letting anybody in with those upperclassmen courses. Next up, RJ. RJ, what about you? What are you doing, boss?
I'm drug testing Potter. Okay. I want to know why Potter gave Steve. I want to know why Potter gave Steve round 1. And then I want to know why he gave Leon round 2 when Leon just changed the whole question. And Potter's like, good job changing the word failure to mess ups. Yeah, you get the point.
It was insightful.
That guy. Nah, listen, over here, no, we're not drug testing. I mean, I agree with what they were saying. Like, I think if you graduate to the hard stuff, I don't need a drug test to let me know that. I'm present enough, and I think I'm going to see a change in behavior. But every now and then, we openly suggest that the green stuff be consumed so we can be more focused on what we're doing over here. So
get the creative juices flowing, man.
Yeah. Are you sure you're present, CJ? I mean, or RJ? I'm looking at you right now. I'm not sure you're present. I think I think this holiday means a little bit more to you than the rest of us.
We're celebrating over here, all right?
RJ is going to be missing that credit card payment.
What's that, CJ?
He might be in outer space. Nah, he might be in outer space over there, but nah, listen. I mean, everybody needs a Potter on the squad. At the end of the day, everybody needs an RJ. Get the creative juices flowing. All right, NBA rules, like I said, man. Sometimes you got to lock in and focus. Go to the Titanium, come to the U, go out to Steve Trang's place. Leon might beat you up a little bit, or he might hit it with you. I'm not sure. All right, but we'll have a good time either way on 420.
I said I have no problem with the green stuff. Zero. It's never been an issue for me. Not my cup of tea, but I don't have any issue with it. But I will say, if you are someone that's scaling and growing a team, I think this is very important. This is something that you set standards when people are coming in that, hey, look, if you want to do these things, I'm cool with this. But you start graduating into, as CJ said, graduate level narcotics and things like that are going to affect you in a different way. I need to set that tone as a leader within my organization, running specifically trying to scale and grow a flipping operation, a property management company. These are people that are going to be in the houses that you own. I think it's important to put that out there. And if you don't, it's that's on you. But I do think it gives you out of the gate some trust with your employees.
What's one of the most effective videos I had for recruiting was when I posted a video about how drug dealers make the best business owners. I had so many DMs like, hey, can I work for you? It's like, talk to my recruiter. Talk to my recruiter. So it's a little bit.
It's 2023. I'm more shocked when I see a cigarette than a joint or a blunt, man.
Yeah, you're disappointed when you see the cigarette. It's like, man, make better life decisions.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, what are you doing, man? I might make this easier on yourself, man. Have a good time. What are you doing, man?
I can tell you, I smell a different tobacco here in Florida more often than I smell regular tobacco. That is for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So that round did not disappoint at all. Really glad to see that everybody's on the same page. Leon, of course, wrapped us up there and, brought in the real answer that we were looking for, but we're going to have a little fun with that one. I'm going to give that one to Sarcastic Steve as well, trying to get everybody high so that they do their job. Shout out to Steve over there on his policies. Real quick, also going to send it over to Steve for a word from our sponsors.
All right, so today's sponsor is 10X TV or TVwithtony.com. Do you want to get inbound leads calling you and get celebrity status in your market? Look no further than Tony Javier's 10X TV program. Tony has been doing TV commercials to find consistent, motivated sellers for over a decade. It is one of the things that has allowed him to do over 1,000 flips. He will use his proven TV commercial formula to get high-quality leads, calling you and even set it up for you. Get in front of 10 times more people, 10 times faster, 10 times cheaper, with 10 times more credibility than any other marketing channel. Surprisingly, TV has little to no competition and can get you a steady flow of motivated seller leads. If you want to see why over 100 real estate investors have used Tony to run their TV commercials, go to tvwithtony.com to see if there's a spot available in your market. Again, go to tvwithtony.com.
Outstanding. Thank you, Steve. We appreciate that. Next up, is doing land deals easier than traditional real estate deals? Start us off, Steve.
So I had Ray Trang on the show yesterday, and man, it sure seems like it. It certainly seems like it is. And Jack Bosch is someone I look up to tremendously in our market, a partner in our bank, and he seems to show it as well. But with all that being said, I cannot speak intelligently on it because I've never tried to go after land actively. All the land deals we've done has been passive. It's been a homeowner is like, I'm not selling my property, but I got this piece of land over here. And every time we've done that, it's been an abject failure, total disaster. So I've never gone through it intentionally. I can't speak, so I can't speak intelligently on this. It appears to be, but I can't say it with full confidence.
Apparently can't speak intelligently at all. So
thank you.
Next up.
That may be your funniest line, Potter.
CJ, what are your thoughts?
Someone fire him now.
I think it's only easier in the context of people don't have the same emotional attachment to lots and land as they do to houses or, commercial or what have you, because it's not physical property and it's easy for people to kind of forget about it or, again, not have that emotional attachment. But I think it kind of stops there. I mean, I've done land deals. I've done a decent amount of them. I think that, regardless, the same skill set is needed sales-wise to be able to have a conversation and negotiate really strong pricing. I think you still got to know how to have conversations and locate buyers. You got to know how to market still. So, I mean, it's the exact same skill set. I think people just simply have a less emotional attachment when it comes to land, and that might be the only thing that really kind of makes it easier.
Nice insight, CJ. We appreciate that. All right, RJ, what about you? What are you doing with land?
So August of last year, we hired a gentleman named Trent Bates, no relation to me. And he came in from another organization that primarily was wholesaling land. And we told him, like, hey, we're mainly single family and small multifamily. That's our bread and butter. And he wanted to be able to do some acquisitions campaigns on vacant land. And we kind of foo-fooed him away, like, no, we're not going to mess with that. And then through his own organic marketing, he got us some deals. And to CJ's point, yeah, on the acquisition side, there might not be any emotional attachment to the land, but on the disposition side, this is where it becomes a lot easier because there's no inspections needed, right? So there's not needing access to the property and doing a walkthrough and finding out if there's plumbing and electrical and all these different issues. So from a dispo side, when you're wholesaling, yes, land can be much easier and fruitful for your company.
Interesting points. Like it, RJ. All right, Leon, what about you?
Interesting points, but not the right answers. The dispo side to RJ got the closest on the right answer. It can be easier depending upon your exit strategy. Here's why I know this. Over the last 13 years of the Collective Genius, prior to the last 3 of those 13, there has been really one land flipper that has been teaching a lot of people that have been in this group. To Steve's point, Jack Bosch from Phoenix. He's been teaching people how to do this for a very, very long time. Until the last 3 years, there really only been 1 or 2 land flippers in our group. In the last 3 years, I have seen this really grow. 20, 30 members now that only focus on flipping land. Now, specifically, the exit strategy is flipping that land through a wholesale strategy or an owner finance strategy. Okay, that can be easier because of inspections and those type of things. But the question is land deals easier? If you are looking to develop or entitle and do all types of different things on that land, that can be much, much harder than just a single family traditional, what most people that are watching the show do. But I have seen it grow significantly with the strategy that is similar to house wholesaling, not the land entitlement development side.
I love it when someone says that my answer was wrong and then says absolutely nothing following that. Thank you, Leon. But what was your point? And so Jack Bosch, and now there's 30 Jack Bosches in Collective Genius?
No, the point is
because it's easier.
Look, this is how you were listening. You weren't listening because you're high. The second part of the answer was the right answer. It can be, unless you're looking, your exit strategy is to sell to a developer or to develop and entitle that land on yourself. That can be much more complicated. So yes, it can be easier is the first part of that. Second part, you apparently didn't listen.
You're right. I will say this. Here is one of the biggest issues that we've run in with vacant land is that you will run into more people pretending to be the seller and not actually be the owner. There's a lot more scams associated with vacant land than houses. And so that has been one thing that we've had to overcome. I think in our first 7 years of being in real estate, we might have run into that like twice. And so far in 2023, we've run into that like 5 times. And it's all been on vacant land. So that's been our biggest hurdle to overcome so far.
Yeah,
and I get the point. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add to that. The person that is trying to sell it is not the person, but also the biggest issues I've heard are the tracks. They can't be developed on. There are issues with the soil. You can't do anything with these lands, so they make them less marketable. But a lot of people, the reason it can be easier, these tracks are costing $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. So it's a low barrier of entry from a cost standpoint.
Yeah.
All I was going to say is I follow what you're saying, Leon, but I also would argue that it's not that it's easier. It's just a less saturated market. It's just less people present in the market of land buying, land investing. The concept of doing it's the exact same business. There's no difference in if I want to do owner financing on a single family house, it's no different than if I want to do if I want to do owner financing on a lot or a piece of land. Wholesaling it's the exact same process. The steps are literally the exact same. There's no difference. It's just less people that are present currently in that market. More people are starting to flood it and start to get into it. But I don't know that that's it being easier. I think anything is you're going to see more results for people that are first to entry all the time than you're going to see, people that are not.
Two things. Number one, point to RJ on that round. Number two, if I ever see firematthewpotter.com in the chat again, I swear nobody's getting any points ever again. Steve,
I was just reminding the audience that it's up. That was all.
Looks like there's going to be a lot of points awarded to other people than Steve.
Is that a new hashtag?
It is not. All right. Next up, number 5. How influential are Chinese investors in America's real estate market right now? Start us off, RJ.
So I was actually kind of confused by this question. I actually asked before, like, I don't understand why this was a question that's asked. I don't understand the timing of it. And so based off of the research that I did, they're the minority as far as foreign investors go in the United States. I mean, more Canadians are investing than the Chinese and American real estate. So how influential are they? I mean, obviously they're always having some sort of an impact, but it's a small percentage in comparison to everything else that's going on. So I would say it's a very small percent.
And the award for the worst answer ever.
I asked why it was a question. I don't understand what it was for.
Thank you for not answering the question, RJ.
I said very little influence.
All right. Next up, Leon, what are your thoughts on this?
So from our standpoint, I don't think anyone on this panel, and I could be wrong, I don't think anyone on this panel, though, is seeing influence in what we do. I think if, to RJ's point, if you research this, and I had to, because this is not something that I see in a daily or have daily conversations about, or even quarterly conversations about. The Canadians, as to RJ's point, are doing, to date, the highest percentage of any foreign investors. But I do see from what I was able to read, there is some influence there, so much so, especially on the ag side. And this is not a lane in which we play in, but farmland seems to be a new focus of the outside foreign investor. And it seems that seems to be the case with Chinese investors. So it's gotten enough attention that it's getting state governments, Texas, as well as federal government looking into it. So obviously there's some influence there, but I don't think anyone on this panel or people that are watching the show are feeling any effects of that today.
Good insight, Leon. We appreciate you actually answering the question, unlike RJ. Next up, Wu Trang, what are your thoughts?
When I read this question, I was kind of thinking they were talking about the hedge fund that we were starting, but I'm not sure if that was the direction we were going to go with this. I did have the good fortune to talk to Ryan Zolan earlier today, and he mentioned that he's got this multifamily that they got these Chinese investors that are buying, and the numbers he shared with me is like, that doesn't make any damn sense. But I think when they're coming from China, it doesn't have to make sense. The numbers, the challenge with the investors coming from China is not that they're going to be competing against you on as far as the quality of the deal. The problem is that they don't care about the ROI as much because China appears to be in a bubble. So they're just trying to get their money out and park it anywhere in the U.S. If you look in the penthouses in New York, there are literally floors that are owned by people from China who have never set eyes on the property, who have no intention to ever occupy the property. It's just sitting vacant, right? Millions of dollars for a floor sitting vacant because whatever they can do to make sure that their money is tied to the U.S. dollar versus the Chinese money, that's what it is. But as far as being an influence, I don't see them being an influence.
Damn, Steve coming with insider information there.
Yeah.
All right, CJ, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
What's that URL again?
I can't speak from research because I just saw the questions as I was late for the show starting. So I can't speak from experience. All right, I'll speak from experience. What I've seen in the last 13 years of being in business is that EB5 investing is huge business. Maybe it's not direct purchasers, but I see EB5 money flowing all the time, supporting different funds locally, people that I know in different states. I know EB5 money is backing a ton of different projects in different places as well. So I don't know how much that influence is or isn't. But I think money from China in the form of EB5 for sure, from my experience, is flowing extremely heavily inside of the market nationwide. And so whether that's in the form of, again, direct buying, more so I've seen it in the form of, funding into lending or purchases. But that money is definitely in this market and has been for a very long time.
Leon, on your point about the ag side of things, that's what I saw was that's happening a lot in Florida. And so I was curious if that's something that you're seeing there. And again, to your point, all of us are not really messing around with that. So that really wouldn't be anything that we really know about. But that was the one portion of what I saw in several articles that I did research on, because I actually show up on time and read the questions days in advance. Unlike today.
Yeah, so our governor right now has all of his attention towards Disney for some reason, rather than a presidential race. But I have read articles where DeSantis has shown concern of the amount of ag land being purchased, because what most people don't know, outside of Miami, Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, the major cities, everything in between is farmland. And so, yes, there has been articles written on that and the concern. It's still a small percentage. And to my, earlier, what I was mentioning is that we see some influence, but it's not enough at this point that I think that state governments and federal government is keeping an eye on it. We've only seen it from our perspective, from our community. We have one member that has a Chinese network that buys and funds a lot of deals with our community. And that's really the only influence that I've seen from a business standpoint. When I lived in Honolulu, I did see, what to Steve's point, if you were in the market for those $1 million type penthouses, those were flying off the shelf to foreign investors, a big percentage of that being Chinese. So from an influential standpoint, if you're purchasing one of those, you would have felt that effect in Miami, New York, and Honolulu. But for us, and what we are usually talking about on this show, we don't see it as much.
All right. As promised, Steve won't be awarded any more points. So this round, going to give it to my man, Chris Jefferson, CJ, coming in with the EB5 funding. Like, so obscure, but also very, very relevant. So we appreciate you. As always, we have the most informed panel, clearly.
Wasn't EB5 an 80s band? I'm pretty sure they had a couple hits in the 80s.
No, I think that was like E4 or something like that, or UB40, something like that. I don't know.
There you go.
Hey.
I'm still trying to make it over the insider information.
Dude, Steve's over here. Steve's over here breaking down.
But he's been traveling. You know what I'm saying?
He has been, dude.
Yeah, he's been traveling. He could have talked to somebody, man. You never know.
He was gone. He was gone for 2 weeks, and just very covert.
You never know who he spoke
back,
to, man. That's a fact. That's a fact.
All right. Last question for the day. I'm super excited about this one. I honestly almost threw this in the chat the other day. From our audience, favorite real estate transaction deal you've done? Start us off, CJ.
Favorite real estate? I guess it's the favorite because it's the most memorable. I bought a house, I mean, maybe 9 years ago now. And it was my favorite real estate transaction because, for a long time in my life, real estate was about money, 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 and making as much money as possible. And I went to buy this lady's house. And I remember walking in the house and like there was a mattress in the master bedroom she was sleeping on. There was dogs. It's like a hoarder house. It was just terrible, terrible house. Feces everywhere, piss everywhere, that kind of thing. And I remember being very judgmental in the beginning of that process and just thinking about what I was going to get from it. And I was getting a home run deal. At the time, it was my biggest profit potential deal ever. And children in the house, that kind of thing. And I remember somebody helped me pause for a second and realize like what I was doing for this family that had gotten themselves into this situation. And the deal then became about, we still obviously made a lot of money, but the deal then became about giving them some money back, helping them with some resources. We gave some money up front for the lady's son, the homeowner, to be able to get into rehab initially and help them get into a better, place to live. So it's just the one that always kind of sticks out when people ask that as being the favorite, not because of the profit, but because, I felt like I grew in the deal itself and was able to help somebody along the way. And I think that meant a lot.
Nice. Love that giving back, and how fitting on 420 that you talk about that story with rehab and being able to, get him the help that he needs.
Absolutely.
Next up, RJ, what about you? What's your most memorable deal?
Yeah, I'm going to go with our 1,000-day short sale in Hawaii. So this is a property. It was 8,800 square foot building right on the bay. And it's a beautiful single family home that had been cut up and converted into where she was renting out the rooms, which is common in Hawaii, but it wasn't permitted to be done this way. And so she got foreclosed on by the first lender. She had a second mortgage, and then she had as well as $250,000 in fines from the city and the county. And so over the course of 1,000 days, we had to negotiate with first lender, second lender, city, and county to get it down to the purchase price that we needed. That took Elijah, my partner and friend, to sneak into the building official because he was like, hey, you can't get a meeting for 6 months. So he had to sneak his way in, essentially cut the line to have the meeting. It got all the way down to the closing. We had our lender in place, and literally the day of closing, the lender says, I don't have any money. Like, I've given all my money out. And we thought we were going to lose the deal because we didn't close on that day. We literally argued, cussed, cried, and we got funding a week later, and we closed on it. We still own it to this day, but that's one of the craziest transactions I've ever done.
That's definitely a crazy one. I would say that's a little wild right there. What about you, Leon?
I've got a few stories like CJ's, and outside of my next transaction, which is generally my favorite one, the next one, my most favorite of all is, you guys know me pretty well now from this show, that I'm a big relationship person, and I think all of us on this panel are. I had a private investor that came to me that had a fourplex that he wanted to. There had been one of the 4 apartments rented in this fourplex for the longest time, and he'd owned it for 30, 40 years. And he wanted me to look at it, and then said, hey, would you buy this from me and I'll give you a great deal on it? And I had no clue why he wanted to sell it to me. He had no kids. Come to find out later, he was dying from pancreatic cancer. And he, for whatever reason, because of our relationship, said, I want you to have this. And, it's one of those where he didn't want his wife to have this burden. And so he didn't give it to me, but he gave me such a great deal on it because he knew that I would take care of it. He knew that I would get it fixed up and all of the property rented out. And it's just one of those when you're able to help someone and you didn't even know, where the story was going until the end. But it's my most memorable and most favorite transaction.
Damn, getting us in the heartstrings there, Leon. Love that though. I absolutely love it. Steve, what's your favorite transaction that you've ever been a part of?
Well, it's not going to be as heartwarming as these other guys. I can say that's for sure. For me, it was the deal that we got to do where we added a lot of creativity to it. Right? It was a deal where there were 4 siblings, and it was a probate situation where each of them owned a quarter. And at some point after mom passed, the oldest brother attacked the other 3 siblings with a Louisville baseball bat, forced them out of the house, and so they hated each other, obviously. And the house was worth about 140 when we first reached out to them. So, about 35K each one has enough that it was worth to them. And we bought out 3 of the siblings at $7,000 a piece because they wanted nothing to do with that sibling. And so, we're $21,000 in for 75% of the property. We then enforced a partition sale, got him to agree to sell to us through the judge, split the lot. And so we bought a property that was worth 140. And after everything was said and done, bought it for less than 140. But after everything was said and done, splitting the lot, we sold the lot for what we basically bought the house for. And then selling the house was pure profit, right? So using joint tenancy, partition sale, adding a lot of creativity to add value here. That was my favorite transaction. But my second favorite is Monty Weimer. So Monty, Matthew, if you recall, we were doing a short sale where there were 6 liens. First lien was on board. Second lien was on board. Fourth lien was on board. Fifth lien was on board. Sixth lien was on board. And the third lien was fighting over $3,000. And so we tried to explain to him, you understand, it's 3, you want 3 more thousand. So it's either 0 or $6,000. What do you prefer? It's like, we have principle. We will not settle. And they got nothing. And everyone got screwed in that transaction. So we got 5 out of 6 liens approved in that short sale.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I just want to address the elephant in the room, if we could. I want to raise my hand in acknowledgement here on Pardon the Disruption. I like 420 Steve too. I think
There's so much buildup. I love it.
Hey,
and then he mutes himself.
Real quick, Potter, since I know you're gonna go with either Leon and CJ because they went the emotional route, I'm just arguing that Leon is disqualified because he straight up plagiarized Tom Brady with my favorite deal is the next one. So I think Leon should just be disqualified.
I don't know, man. That's a great. That is an absolutely great line, though. Like, let's be honest. Like,
just because I live
Matthew's
in
a
Tampa
Brady
doesn't
fan.
mean I'm not a Brady fan. Just because I live in Tampa doesn't mean that I'm a Brady guy. I know he said that, but I didn't quote him directly.
Obviously, you're a Brady guy because you're freaking quoting him on all of your answers.
Yeah, I did TB12 this morning. You're right. So, real quick, we've got a question for a future. As we were going through this, especially with CJ's answer, all I could think about as CJ is talking is about all the fecal matter homes and all of the cigarette stains. So a future question has to be the most interesting house that you've ever purchased and why? Because we have, I guarantee you, 100 different stories of some of the things that have been found in houses, including people with guns. And I won't give it away, but that's a future question for sure.
We're definitely going to save that one for the next time you're on, Leon. Definitely. Like, dude, we're going to roll with that. That might be even the headliner right there.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing in a home that you purchased. There's a lot there.
So a couple things that I just want. There goes CJ. He just dips out. We got nothing but we got question marks, CJ. We love him.
I accidentally hit I just hit refresh the screen for no reason, and it just felt like it was the right thing to do. It felt right in the moment.
I feel like this is the most. If we could, all of us should leave this and go watch Half Baked because I feel like this is a
Real
Half
talk.
Baked type of day.
Real talk. So couple things that I gotta go ahead and say here. We got RJ talking some shit in the chat over here, saying CJ texted me that he made the entire story up. So RJ, first and foremost, you're a rascal. No points. Sorry, it's not gonna happen. Leon over here, my next deal is my favorite deal. Shout out to Leon. Absolutely love that. Steve bringing in the traumatic Monty Weimer short sale. I can't get on board with that shit. Like, absolutely not. I'm gonna give that round to CJ since he came on, and as I had mentioned, and like Steve, this is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt, and there's consequences for your actions of putting that horrible website into the chat over here. CJ. By default, thank you for, being a nice guy. You win today. My guy CJ over here. That being said,
man.
it has been a blast today. I think this is probably one of the best shows that we've had, like no joke. Absolutely no joke. Thank you as always from our sponsor, Tony Javier with 10X TV. Go ahead and check him out. Website is tvwithtony.com. That being said, we're going to go ahead and do some outros here. Start us off as our champion. CJ, go ahead and say bye to the people.
Champion.
Yeah, it's always good to get a win again as the resident champion. I gotta say this before I gotta say this before I get out of here. I'm gonna take the default win, right? I'm gonna take the default win, and I want to salute all the RJ based the thirds of the world that get these default wins in life, and get their participation trophy, at the little league game that Leon coaches every Saturday, and they go home and the parent pats them on the back like, "Hey, little RJ, you just did so good. I'm so proud of you." And they stick at the participation trophy that every kid got that play because they're on the losing team, right? And they stick that trophy up on the wall, and they're so proud every time they go in their room at night and look at it. So I'll take the default win. It's Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, startflippingdeals.com. And if you've never been on one of my live classes, you're missing out. I'll see you tonight. Much to the U fam. Peace.
And we're really hoping next week when CJ comes that he'll go ahead and come with high-speed internet, not dial-up. So we don't have them question marks. RJ, it was a valiant effort today, my friend. We appreciate you. Go ahead and talk to the people.
Shout out to 420. Shout out to weed. Shout out to me with the caffeine this morning and it didn't work out so well. And shout out to Millie Vanilli on his win today. I appreciate it.
That might actually be the greatest outro of all time, RJ. We appreciate that. Leon, talk to us.
Yeah, clearly he talked about Hawaii earlier. Clearly he's on the Maui Wowie here in the second half. Good to see you guys as always. And remember, our next show is our best show. Got to get that out there one more time. If you're going to align yourself with somebody, RJ, like you might as well align yourself with the champion, that has rings, more rings than some of us have fingers. So exciting show today. Shout out to everyone. It was a fun one. Steve, maybe, and you didn't get the win, but maybe you're my favorite show of yours, my friend. Well done today.
Thank you.
Absolutely agree, Leon. Not gonna lie, I did give Steve a 30-minute pep talk before we got into this, so you guys are seeing the direct result of that. Steve, go ahead and say bye to the people.
So, as we mentioned earlier, we hire rehabilitated drug dealers to work within our organization. We're also looking to hire rehabilitated drug dealers to host a show. Go to firematthewpotter.com, submit your application. I look forward to working with you.
All All right, everyone. We hope you had as much fun watching us as we had having this show today. As always, tune in Thursdays. We have 11:30 Pacific Standard Time, 2:30 EST. Check us out. We had a blast. We'll see y'all next week.